to Rapid F1 News, your place for daily F1 news. And also, if you want to help support this small channel, then don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for notifications. That would be hugely appreciated. Thank you. So it looks like Ricciardo has, well, I think he's all but decided now he's going to take a break for a year and come back in 2024. Hopefully. I mean, it's not set in stone, of course, but he's been talking about his racing and about how this car has perhaps picked up on some of the weaknesses that he has. He's usually always smiling, of course, but the last 18 months, should we say, has been very difficult. He said, "I'm certainly aware that I'm not perfect. I have weaknesses, and unfortunately, this car exposed that ultimately. So that is where it's humbling. I could still work on things and better myself, but then the confident part of me is like, but you give me a car to win, and I'll win." I didn't say the swear word that was in there. And he said, "That's where I still draw a lot of confidence from." He says, "When I get in that car, I'll find a way to win." And he has a lot of confidence. Even now, after all he's been through for the last 18 months, he still has a lot of confidence. And you have to be, you have to admire the guy for that. He suffered a lot in the last year or so, and he's still willing to go in there and try and win races. Don't get me wrong, you still need that, or at least a big element of that, Ricciardo says, because otherwise you don't belong here simply. But for sure, with age and maturity, you start to just be more honest with yourself. If I was perfect, then I would have found a way to deal with this. But I think he has dealt with it fairly well. I mean, he's decided he's going to take a year out, and I think that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I think that, he just wants to make sure that the end of his F1 career is something not to be ashamed of, and I don't think it will be necessarily at all. He said, "It's not that I don't want to obviously work on my weaknesses, but I can't be messing around with that too much," he says. "It's find a car that I can exploit my talent with, and I'll find a way." Why that wasn't possible with McLaren is still difficult to understand for the team, for Ricciardo, and almost everybody watching. It seems like a match made in heaven. However, things didn't go too well. He said, "Still unknowns in terms of why it hasn't worked. The exhausting, confusing truth is that sometimes he and McLaren thought there were clear signs of progress, and then that progress would just restart. Never-ending steps, he calls them, for no real reward. We would learn something on a weekend, would take a step forward, but then there was another step, and we had to make, and there was a new discovery. So it's like we would progress from a previous weekend, but now there's another hurdle. So next weekend we'll get over another hurdle." And pretty much every weekend it was like an unforeseen hurdle. I was like, okay, you've got a car set up. This driving style is starting to suit this car, but then again, it just feels like we are on the old hamster wheel. And I think sometimes even he started to wonder what was going on with the car. He's like, he says it down here. At times I'm just like, something's up. This isn't normal. But obviously we haven't really got on top of that. And he says, when you're not on the limit of the car as well, it's a bigger concern for me. And even in debriefs, you'll hear from Lando, "Oh, this stint of the race, I could really feel the car was working there. It kind of came alive." Where I'm just like, yeah, I've never had that feeling. And I think he just feels a little bit disillusioned with the way things have gone on so far. And hopefully this hiatus he's taking for the season will enable him to get back into his thoughts and consolidate what he is and where he is at the moment. And hopefully he'll come back next year, or come back in 2024, stronger and better than ever before, and he'll find a car that can meet his strengths. But let me know down in the comments what you think. As always, do you think this is the end for Ricciardo? Do you think he will come back in 2024, or do you think that his days are now numbered in F1?